Welcome to the Applits.com Voting Week Decision Podcast. Over the course of last week, you, the community, have voted on your favorite app ideas to narrow down the hundreds of idea submissions into just 5 finalists. In this podcast, you'll hear from the team that brings you the Applits platform as we discuss each of the top 5 finalists that you have deemed the best of the best from this competition cycle.
Hey guys, welcome to the Applits.com Voting Week Decision Podcast. Over the course of last week, you, our community, have voted on your favorite app ideas to narrow down the hundreds of idea submissions into just 5 finalists. In this podcast, you'll hear from the team that brings you the Applits platform as we discuss each of the top 5 finalists that you have deemed the best of the best from this competition cycle. Now let's meet the team. As you'll notice, this is the same team that operates our for-hire app development branch, Designly. So, if you'd like to work with us but don't happen to win this contest, feel free to shoot us an email for a free fixed-price quote at hello@designly.co. I'm Keith Shields, CEO of Designly.
I'm Josh Tucker. I'm the CFO of Designly.
And I'm Jake Larkin, the project management lead here at Designly.
All right, so let's get started. To make our final voting week winner decision, we'll go through each of the top 5 finalists and assess them one by one. We'll be brutally honest on their technical feasibility, the existing competition that's already out there, their usefulness, and all of the things that make an app successful. After doing so, we'll battle it out to come down to a single winner. Here's where our pre-written script ends, so be prepared to hear our real and uncensored discussion to decide where we'll next invest our community's time and energy and our financial and coding resources. Without further ado, here are our top 5 finalists from this competition cycle. First up, we have Where Are We by Ari. In the very near future, all aviation companies will allow Wi-Fi services on board. With this app, the passenger seated at a window seat will be able to point their smartphone or tablet through the window to discover the names of the cities, coasts, lakes, rivers, or region he or she is flying over with their position shown on a map. There will also be the possibility to share their location in real time on social networks along with pictures taken through the window. Users can tag friends, track all of their flights, and have memories of it forever. Josh, what do you think of this idea?
I think it's a cool idea. There's some technical questions I'd be concerned about. So obviously you can get the Wi-Fi on the planes once that's standard across airlines. But the one thing I am curious about is, would you be able to get your GPS location while you're on the plane? So I'm not sure how that would work. Jake, do you have any ideas about that?
GPS is it's definitely not going to work as well as it does on the ground, but it's still active up in the air. If that works, then I think the app has a lot of possibility to it. But I think there might be some issues with the fact that the airliners are actually moving towards software like this. So within the next 5 years or so, we'll see similar types of tools that are actually on board commercial airline planes, through the windows at least. So not sure if this is actually going to be something that can beat them to that market, but if we can get over the technical feasibility humps, then I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think it would be a really cool idea too. I'm not sure about the technical feasibility right now, but definitely within the next couple of years, I think that would be something that we could do. So,
do you know about GPS on a plane?
That's a great question. I honestly do not. I know, sure you can have Wi-Fi on board, but you're not going to get cell. And I'm not sure if GPS would work there actually.
So aircraft, they clearly get GPS, but they are getting it from a different source.
Right.
And then there are software aboard private jets that have monitors that have apps on board them,
so you can see
that monitor your location. So I'm not sure if they're getting that from the same software that the pilots are retrieving GPS coordinates from, or if they're using similar type of functionality as like a phone would.
That would be my biggest concern for sure, is how we get that actual location, especially when you're moving, 500 miles an hour. I don't know if your phone will be able to pick that up easily. I think the technical side of it is probably the biggest issue. Otherwise, it's an awesome idea. Then the only other issue is, how do you monetize it? I'm not exactly sure how you would do that.
True. But the idea of the app as a whole, if you can get the location, so with that big caveat, if you can get the location accurately and you're in the airplane, say you're in a window seat, does it matter if the phone knows you're looking out the left or the right, or is it just saying like around you is blank, you're over with whatever state? I think that's interesting as a part of the app as a whole, is just seeing where you are.
Right.
Southwest now does something along these lines where you can track your flights and you can see where your route goes and stuff on their like onboard computer things. But if you put this on a smartphone and actually allowed them to browse around and learn about the geography around them, and there's an app out there too that uses the gyroscope to figure out where you're pointing in the sky, and it'll point out what planes are above you.
Cool.
Based on that, which is pretty cool. So you could definitely figure out what way you're looking on the plane based on how you're pointing it. And then finding geography information would just be utilizing some sort of API. I don't know who would provide that, but
So that's something we'll look up after we're off, when we're pausing for the decision. We'll look up GPS in flight and see if that's a technical limitation.
Cool.
sweet.
All right, second idea, Little Gigs by Jerry Bin. Little Gigs is an app designed for people who enjoy getting out and exploring the local music scene, as well as serving as a platform for artists to advertise their upcoming performances for free. Essentially, Little Gigs is a directory that links people who like live music with performances in their area. It is specifically geared towards promoting local music, rather than large-scale concerts or international acts, because frankly, they've got enough promotion. It's time the up-and-comers had somewhere to be found. App users will be able to refine their searches based on categories such as location, artist and band name, venue, music genre, ticket, door price, if any, etc. Venues will also be able to advertise any openings for gigs.
Yeah, this is a neat idea. One of my big problems with something like this, though, is that you're going to need a relatively big community to even make it effective. So let's say you have one band sign up for the app. How are people going to know that band is even playing? So essentially, you might have the band in the app, but no one to look into the app to see if you're using it. So what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you get your big user community first, or do you get all your bands in the app first? That's the biggest problem I see with something like this. On top of that, how is this better than a website? Why wouldn't you just have this as a website, which is much easier to build? Why would you start with an app? That's my big concern with it.
And this is it's somewhat flooded market. I've seen this come through several times. My buddy Joey Hendrickson doing How to Build a Music City over there in Columbus. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but they're trying to do a very similar thing with a website. Now, it's not an app, but and I don't necessarily know if it focuses on local music, or I know it focuses on local music, but little young guys and girls versus like the big show names. But they are doing the same thing where they're trying to bring a lot more press to the smaller gigs and local talent. So, and I imagine a lot of cities have somebody kind of championing that effort in each of their cities, trying to get the smaller names bigger press. But maybe they do need an app to make sure that happens. But I don't know. I think there's a big community involved, which would be really hard.
Yeah, I was initially thinking that we could solve the data problem by letting the venues post what gigs are coming through their doors, which would kind of make it a little easier to gather that information. However, I'd be curious to know if venues would be even willing to do that, because it's not necessarily the small names that'll get people through their doors, right? They'd be more happy to upload gigs that are well-known artists, because then they'll know, okay, this information's going to get out there. Everyone's going to come see, XYZ band that's popular, right? That would incentivize them to upload that data.
This is definitely trying to solve a problem, though, I've seen several times, and that's the issue of, you're a small band, you need recognition. You need a way to promote yourself. That's a problem that this is trying to solve, and we've seen this multiple times. I'm just not sure this is the best way to solve that issue, and I think it's a really tough problem to solve because there's so many talented artists out there. and it's really just hard to get discovered. And I'm not sure of the best way to do that, but I'm not sure this is that way.
And we've got to look into the app market too. With how many apps are out there, there's got to be one that does something like this. This just can't be that unique of an idea.
Yeah, it's an event listing.
Yeah, it is event listing.
Yeah.
The problem is to get those people who are interested in that event into the app. So I'm not sure if there's a group of people that look for small gigs of music or performing arts or whatever that may be. I'm not sure that there would be actually people using this app. Do any of you guys search out local artists? I mean, I've definitely gone to some local artists before, and it's awesome. But I don't know if I go out of the way to search for that.
Yeah, I also don't know how I found them. I've seen concerts and stuff from little Columbus-based bands, but it's mostly by invite from other friends.
Right. It would have to be made socially driven kind of thing.
Yeah.
To get suggested by your friends what small artists are actually talented. You'd be interested in going with your friends too.
Now, this may be the fact that it's just the three of us and none of us have that drive to find the small artists as much as probably the guys submitting the idea and the bands and the people who would use this app. But
True.
So maybe we're missing the actual initiative that it's trying to hit.
Yeah, we could be. Not sure. All right, should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'll give that more thought. Okay, number 3, Tag by Nico. To start a game or to start a team, log in and begin to tag people by clicking on your Apple Watch or phone when the tag alert pops up on your device. That means users are in your area of reach. Users are given 1 free tag a day to use. Tagging people will gain you 20 points, although when people tag you, you will then lose 5 points and will have to tag someone when you are it. You then have 30 minutes to tag someone before you lose 7 points every 30 minutes. Players can lower the risk of being tagged if players see the tag alert notification by pushing the hide button, which will hide your position for 30 seconds, making another user exposed to be tagged. Need help? When losing too many points, find a friend to accept and transfer the tag debt.
I think this idea is really cool. I think it would be fun to play. One problem I think about it is that maybe it's a little too complicated. There's too many features in it. You could make this game really cool if you just kept it simple and just kept the core functionality. Because especially with applets, we like to start with an MVP, minimal viable prototype, and that's the best way to start an app, anyways, because it's pretty complex. So something like this, I would just start with the tagging functionality if we were to build this, and maybe like remove features like transferring your tag debt, because I think that's over the top. I don't think that's really needed. The hide feature is cool. That might be a good one to keep, but I don't know if 30 seconds is the right amount of time. As far as technically speaking, I think something like this is doable. You have to think about how the tagging functionality works. Is it if you're just near someone, or is it if you touch devices? Like how would that proximity work? How would we figure that out? That's my biggest concern with that, is how you would configure the gameplay to work. And then also, who do you decide who's it to start the game, and how many people can be it at once? You have to think about some of the logic behind that.
It's not the same game as the tag from when we were kids. It's like a point version of the game. If it was like you're either it or you're not it, and you're tagging other people to get rid of that status, that's a different story. It is neat though. Any of these like location-based games are always pretty interesting to see if they can grow. I don't like the phrase users are given 1 free tag a day to use. Now we could alter that and go with a free model, but I don't like starting out by limiting the users extremely down, all the way down to 1 free tag a day, because why would I ever use it if I only get 1 tag? That sounds like a boring first game. But if I was like able to use it a whole bunch and then like several months into it you found a way to monetize it, that'd be more interesting to me. But
I think a cooler way to do this would be kind of make it like a zombie game. So you'd have like innocents and zombies.
That would be cool.
That would be sweet. and you have like when you get near someone, they turn into a zombie, and then if you try to be the last survivor on Earth.
Do you think you could
That would be sweet.
Because this is that's true. Because if you have one person that's it, and you're what are the odds that you're going to be that close to someone that you need to, tag, right? I mean, I guess granted in Nico's idea, you're making a team, right? So it's your friends, I think.
I guess that's true.
So I guess you would be in the relative, same town as them or whatever. But in your idea, that could be a global game of survivors versus infection.
That would
or
be
whatever.
Insane.
That would be awesome.
That's what I was thinking though, because like my issue with this app is that who determines who's it? How big is the scale? That's really tough to figure out. So if you had, my initial thought was, if everyone was playing this game in the same game space, if you will, how do you determine who's it? Like when game ends, it's pretty difficult. But if you had a game of zombies, it'd be a little bit easier to figure that out, I think.
Right.
Maybe I'm completely wrong. I don't know.
Well, you're right. I mean, I could start a new tag game with people in Argentina, and I'll never get tagged. Right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, I guess if you formed a team near you and actually had like a roster and invited your friends, that would work too. That'd be a cool way to do it, I guess. But
yeah, I don't know about the tagging for points. I don't know if that would get me as excited as like tagging to be not it anymore.
Yeah,
like the original game of tag was back in the day.
Especially, that's why I was confused about this when first reading it. Is this a big global game or is this with just friends? Because if it's just a friends game, points make no sense. Because why would I, if I was playing regular tag, like what's the point? You just don't want to be it anymore, right? So I'm not sure if that's how that works, or is it a global game?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused on that. So
technically, if you were trying to find near location, you'd probably either use GPS, right, which means you're running GPS in the background, which is a big no-no.
You use your battery a lot.
You would eat your battery unless it was like you have to open the app and turn it on to play. Like that's how you begin playing, but then you're going to use a lot. You're going to lose a lot of users that way. Or you could go the Bluetooth route. But I don't think you can connect to other people's cell phones via Bluetooth without their permissions.
I know you can use Bluetooth Low Energy, but so something like an Eskimo beacon or an iBeacon, you can keep that up all the time and have an app searching for that.
But the Eskimo knows it's on.
Right. The Eskimo beacon is always on, and
yeah,
that's
just because my phone is searching for other users via Bluetooth does not mean that your phone is going to tell me you're around.
Correct. And then people like me, I never ever have Bluetooth on, so that wouldn't work anyways. So
right. So how do you find the location of people to tag?
It's got to be
question.
GPS based, which is dangerous.
It'd be tough. Then you'd have to have an active game running all the time. So I think it's a cool idea. You would have to figure out the issues with using GPS and some of the game logic in order to make it like a really fun game.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think if you did Josh's idea,
the zombies,
you could have like a 1-day stint where if you have this, or sorry, like let's say it's like a 1-week stint that everyone has the game open using their location. Sure, their battery's draining quickly, but there'll be enough interest in there. Like, hey, if I survive for a week, then I win a prize or whatever. I get bragging rights, right? But if it was the tag game that you had to leave your GPS on all the time for the next few years, you're probably not going to do that, right?
Yeah. What if it was?
It's going to drain the heck out of your battery.
What if it was like somewhat localized and you started a new game?
Right, and you have like a week to survive.
Yeah.
In like the city of
It'd
Greenville.
be even cooler, like if your phone dying was also part of the thing. Like if your phone died, you're now a zombie. 'Cause you couldn't keep it alive.
Right, if you
You're
lose,
toast.
if you lose
That'd be
track,
sweet, dude. Survivalist game.
if you lose track of your GPS location, yeah, that's a good idea.
Tag meets 21st century.
Well, yeah. Sorry, we kind of ran with your idea there, Nico.
28 tags later. That's what we could call it.
Oh, man. All right, moving on to number 4. Map Meets Calendar by Needs from Life. This app helps your map sync with your calendar. When you use your navigation for your next appointment, it's ready to go for you. Just click Start. Sync your mobile map system with appointments on your calendar that contain an address so that when you open your map, it will immediately route you to your destination at your upcoming appointment time. And he's got some nice sketches here that show calendar with your appointment listings and map you that helps you figure out when to leave to get to your destination on time based on your appointment time. Josh, what do you think?
I think so. I don't have an Android right now, but I did, and when I had it, it had Google Now, and Google Now tells you essentially exactly what's on your calendar, when you have to leave to get to your destination, how long it's going to take, if there's traffic, all that kind of stuff. Same thing with even with flights. I remember my mom sent me a flight number and to my Gmail account, and Google Now is smart enough to know that, hey, this flight is landing at 5 o'clock, but oh wait, it was delayed 20 minutes, so you should delay leaving the house. It's really, really smart. So I think that's what something like this would do. But there's already a product like that on the market, so I'm not really sure this is really solving anything that's not already solved.
Google's awesome.
Google is pretty
Google's
crazy.
amazing.
Yeah, I think does iPhone have this on it? I don't think it does.
So within the native calendar app, it's clearly got the input for location, and you're able to click that, and it routes right to the map. But the core functionality of this would be the fact that it's telling you when you need to leave, and it warns you ahead of time. There's just no way Apple's not doing this right now. I mean, Google put it out, I think probably 2 years ago.
It was a while ago.
And Apple has the notification center, and either we're missing how to do it now, it might already be part of Apple's iOS, or it's coming.
It's got to be.
It's got to be. There's no way that they're not seeing what Google just did and replicating it.
On top of that, we couldn't really even build something like this if we had to use Apple's calendar, because Apple's really strict on using their APIs. Like only just recently were you able to use make new keyboards for the phone, right? So now you can actually make your own iOS keyboards. But I'm not sure if this functionality would even work. I know Apple opened up a lot of their operating system in iOS 8, but I'm not sure if we could actually build something like this. So this is something we'd have to look into a little bit.
The calendar information, at least, is stored usually on someone else's server, though. So you're either storing it on your Google Calendar or your Yahoo Calendar or even your Cloud Calendar, and it's just the Apple's calendar app is grabbing that data. So you'd be working with those calendar apps like the Google Calendar to get the actual information from them, and then you'd be using like Google Maps APIs to figure out location estimations.
Well, in that case, why don't you just use Google Now then, right? Because Google Now is already integrated with
Only
Google Maps.
If you have an iOS phone, then you can't.
That's true.
Then you're stuck in the dark ages.
Well, I'm rereading this idea now, and now that I'm seeing it again, I don't think Needs from Life, the submitter, was really talking about anything more than just being able to open your navigation app and immediately know what destination you want to go to. Well, he's not really specifically calling out any like prediction or, hey, there's traffic, we should go earlier kind of stuff. It's more of just syncing the two. So if that's the main concept, let's not forget that you can go into any map app on your iPhone and just tap on an address and it'll recognize it and pop you into the Maps app.
Yeah, and I know that it was either Google that was doing this or somebody was doing this where they're actually looking into your emails. I think it might be OK Google that's looking into your emails and seeing locations from previous emails, which assumably would be from appointments made. So they actually see what addresses are coming up in your future, and when you open the map, it makes suggestions. I don't know if you've seen this.
Is that part of Google Now? Is that part
It's
of
either Google Now or I read it. Google Maps may be making this update to their app.
Well, I know Google Maps just did a pretty cool thing where if you're on the web browser, sign into your Google account, and you type in the address, you can send it to your device. So there's no handoff. So that's pretty cool. Not really 100% applicable to this, but in the same line of saving you time with getting an address to your phone really quickly. So but that's a stock Google functionality now, and I think they just launched it for iPhone. I have to look into that because I would use that a lot. But yeah, so as far as the idea, I think there's already solutions out there that solve this, especially with Google software.
Cool.
Cool.
All right, ready to move on?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Number 5 is Ubash by Nico, a possibly controversial app to gain hype and to promote events for the eye of the media. The app will allow the public to share their voice and opinions and to like or dislike 2 competing images in pre-made selected categories. The app will provide popular and trending categories. This app can be shared with popular news sites and social media to view the public's thoughts. Examples: Kanye versus Beck, Chargers versus Packers, Dodge versus Chevy, Manny versus Mayweather, etc. The potential for Ubash could be big, to be the on-the-go source to see the public's opinions. And we have some Apple Watch screenshots here. So you pick your category, thumb up, thumb down. See 2 things side by side.
You know, when I first read this, I didn't fully get it, but now it just clicked and I get it. And I've had people pitch this similar idea to me, in that they're interested in finding out, like, when you go to a new city, for instance, what do they like there? And you can find out all of that information real time through some on-the-go app. My big comment there was, how do you incentivize using it? Like, why do you use it? Do they require you to answer a question before you can see any data? Maybe. But like, I think people are inherently curious about this sort of thing. So at least seeing the public's opinion locally around you, or even in a bigger audience, would be pretty interesting to see. And it's a lot easier to find that information if it's put onto a smartphone, as long as you can incentivize someone using it.
True.
That's the hard part.
Essentially a polling app.
Yeah, it's like a polling app, but with some sort of like public-facing excitement to it.
Yeah, polling app meets Hot or Not / meets
Hot or Not.
Face Mash.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like that. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of the use case for this. I don't think it would be like a media app. I don't know if it would be a media app. More of a time killer, I would think.
I do see some cool usage there, because I'm just thinking back to the Manny versus Mayweather fight. I was in Columbus.
Yeah.
If I could have said, I was at this sports bar or whatever. If
That's
I
what you're
could have
wondering.
said, exactly. If I could have said, out of people in a 10-meter radius from me, are you voting Manny or Mayweather?
Yeah.
Like, who are you rooting for? And then it pings them. It pops up on their Apple Watch, their iPhone, and they hit the thumbs up next to whoever they think's going to win.
And even finding out in general, like, what your city likes. Like, being new to Greenville, I have no idea. Is this a Clemson or a Gamecock city? I don't know. We're close to both.
So what if you make a question? what
I don't know.
if you make a question, pick the radius that you want to ask, or from around you, the radius from you, and then you hit ask now, and then it pops up on their phone. So how do you incentivize answering that question? Is the big.
It's almost like you open the app because you're curious, and you have to answer a question to get to see the results that you want to see or something.
Well, that'd be less real time.
Definitely less real time.
Yeah.
How is this different than, if we're talking about that, how is that much different than like a Yik Yak, where it's a location-based question app? Have you guys used Yik Yak at all?
I have. But Yik Yak is like, it's not necessarily questions.
It's just anonymous posting.
Yeah, it's like an anonymous Twitter.
You can still ask questions, though. I mean, it's not.
You can certainly ask questions, but that's not the purpose.
And there's upvoting. It is different than this, but this is not. I wouldn't say this is good for many questions. It's only good for this or that question.
Right, exactly. And I see the value here compared to Yik Yak being the real time. Let's send them a push notification saying pick one right now.
Yeah, you just would want to make sure that it doesn't get really annoying.
Right.
I don't even know if you need the real time part though. Like, where I thought that this was most interesting was just knowing in general what an area of the world likes.
Right.
So it doesn't need to be real time. Now, real time helps if you're trying to source that information. Like, it's hard to get the crowd to answer unless there's a reason. But like, how do you get them to open up this app in the beginning to even begin to fill this database of information?
I think what Nico is saying is that you would actually use it for media. So like, you could use it for controversial decisions, right? Let's say something in the media is something that you want to see what people think about it, it would have, the Supreme Court decision. It could have, something in the media that you think is, I don't know.
Yeah.
Use case, something like that.
I don't know. He doesn't mention anything in here about a real-time push, though. So I don't think I would like it pinging me and be like, hey, answer this question now.
That'd be obnoxious.
I think that would be strange, which he never mentioned. So, in all fairness, he never mentioned that. That was our own add-on.
Our own terrible add-on.
But if you can get people to use it in the first place and you start to generate enough information about what a city likes, then a new topic comes up, say the Supreme Court ruling on last Friday, and now you have a tool to ask people questions in a very convenient fashion, not some Yahoo survey like they do now, right?
You could get it kind of cool, too, where you could have a map that shows where people
That's
are.
what I'm thinking.
Right, you get actual, not necessarily statistical data, because it's not random, but you could have parts of the country and see who thinks what.
It's like those Sports Center polls that they do every single football game during the season, where it's like, these states think the Packers are going to win, but it's like way more.
All of Wisconsin.
All of Wisconsin and nobody else.
I'm a Packers fan, so come on.
But it'd be really cool to see a much more local version of that, like a breakdown of your city or anywhere you go, you could see this kind of information as much as it is populated.
Right.
It's the populating the parts first before it becomes useful, but it'd be pretty cool to see.
Once again, you need a big user base. Right? So you need a big user base for something like this to be effective. So apps like this are difficult because you need a lot of people to make it work. So that's, once again, an issue.
Okay, now that we've gone through all 5 finalists and discussed the good and the bad, it's time to make our final decision. First, we'll take the initial pulse of each of our team members on what idea they like best. Then we'll take a quick break as the final decision is made and reconvene to announce the final winner. So Josh, if you had to pick a single idea out of these 5 to be the best of the best, which would it be and why?
Pretty tough decision. I think I'm leaning towards Ubash right now, though. The cool thing about Ubash is that it's an Apple Watch app, which we've never done before, and that sounds pretty exciting to me. And the other reason is that it's really simple. There's not much to it, which is a really good benefit, I would say. So it kind of lets people voice their opinion without really having to do much, and it's not going to take much time out of their day. So, and plus the information you gather from that is going to be really interesting. So someone who loves information like myself I would be a compulsive user of that, I think, because I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's me. That's all I got to say for that.
I'm going to go ahead and make my pick, but I'm going to be a little different, and I'm going to go with the Where Are We app. I think if we can build this app quicker than the commercial airliners can install something that would do a very similar task in their planes, I think that it'd be really cool. Now, I know that this is in the works by the big airline companies to make the flight experience more interactive for all their flyers, but I think putting it on a smartphone will be really cool. And I did do a quick Google search on my phone here and found that GPS is possible in an aircraft, but it can be limited depending on where you're sitting in the plane. The big fuselage of the plane actually does a pretty good job of blocking the signal. So we'll have to do a little bit more research when we break here to make a final decision. But before we do that, my initial pulse is that I like this app.
All right, in terms of my thoughts, I think I'm leaning towards Ubash at this point, with the addition of the annoying, you guys think it's annoying, I don't, real-time pinging of thoughts. Like I said about the bar situation with the flight, I would love to be able to see what people in my immediate location think. And I also think with the launch of the Apple Watch, especially when it comes to young college, high school age, whatever users, they don't mind getting pinged all the time. And it makes them feel important. It makes them feel like people want to know their opinion. I think that's kind of the target that Ubash app would go after. If you were to create it in the way that you guys thought, where it would just be a database that would give data on like what people around the country think what about certain issues, then that's kind of appealing to an older audience. But if we were to do the real-time pinging, I think that could appeal to some young guns. So those are my thoughts on that. All right, we'll be right back as the final decision is made. Stay tuned for your final winner announcement.
This podcast is supported by our partners at DigitalOcean. They have created the fastest and most convenient cloud technology to help you easily and more efficiently manage your infrastructure so you can get back to coding. They provide all their customers with high-performance solid-state hard drives, a flexible API, and the ability to select the nearest data center location. We use them for every project we are involved with, and they have been a blessing for our company. If you want to learn more about how to deploy on DigitalOcean, go to www.designly.co/DigitalOcean. Thank you.
Welcome back. After going through further market research and technical feasibility, our decision's made. Now, since Ian is away for this podcast, I'm going to have Keith do our drum roll.
That's how he did it.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad. Our final winner is U-Bash by Nico. So a big congrats to him. He's going to be taking home 15% of all the profits from this app once we generate and design it, develop it, and push it out to the App Store. We decided we really like this idea for a handful of reasons. One being that location-based data is not incredibly accessible right now. Things like Yik Yak are popular, but yet it's not exactly the market that we're looking for. So we wanted to generate something that's building location-based data on popular topics, and this is a really cool tool to do that. Two, we all think we'd use it personally. Keith was talking about the Manny fight and how he thinks he would use it at a bar to find out what kind of crowd favorites there are around him. And then the third is, of course, that it's built on an Apple Watch platform, which we've never done here at Applits or Designly, and are kind of excited to get into that and hopefully have a nice portfolio item from that. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you're interested in this concept too, you can participate in its creation on the applits.com All Projects page. The more you help over the course of the next 2 months, the more points you will earn and the higher you'll place on our points leaderboard. The 3 users with the most points at the conclusion of next competition cycle will each earn percentages of future revenues in this app. You can learn more about our process on the Applits How It Works page. Thanks everybody for listening. Applits is hosted by Designly.co, a creatively bold and humbly priced app development firm specializing in fixed pricing and high quality work. You of course can see our professional portfolio and inquire about your next project at www.designly.co. That's all we have for now. Until next time.
Well, if you're still listening at this point, we want to thank you. Applits is all about creating a community of individuals who want to see great products made, and we want to continue sharing with you the nitty-gritty details about how we make those hard decisions. If you enjoyed the podcast or found it even remotely entertaining, please be kind and leave a friendly review for us. If you have any questions or would like to work with us in the future, feel free to contact us at hello@designly.co. See you next voting week.